Let's switch back over to Firefox and just look at a couple other sites that we'll be using in this series. As I mentioned, much of this series will be focused on creating layouts using CSS, because today the W3C, which sets standards for the Internet, recommends CSS for nearly every aspect of web design. That's because the best CSS designs are accessible, flexible, and adaptable. When web designers talk about accessibility, they mean creating a site that can be accessed by anyone who might ever visit your pages. And that includes people with limited vision who use browsers that read web pages aloud, as well as many others who use specialized browsers for a variety of reasons. One of the biggest advantages of CSS is that it lets you separate your content, your images, your text, and other elements on your page from the layout and the formatting, the instructions that tell the browser how and where to present those. You can see this in action especially well if you're using the Firefox web browser. As we work on different layouts in CSS, I'll use a feature in Firefox under the View menu that lets you turn styles on and off. So right now on the screen, you see a page that's got an external style sheet attached to it that's describing how those 3 columns should be positioned and how many other elements on the page appear. Using the View Page Style No Style option, I can disconnect this page from its style sheet, and you can see what the page actually looks like without the styles. Quite a dramatic difference, don't you think? What you see now is that same banner, that same collection of links that was at the top of the page, the images and the text descriptions for each of them, but notice how they're positioned down the page. This page is now laid out with the most basic HTML and no styles. But one of the advantages to using CSS is that this page was designed semantically, so that even without these styles, you can still make logical sense of this content. The banner is still the first thing on the page. It's still at the top. This list of links here is formatted with the UL, or unordered list tag, which is an increasingly common convention for formatting collections of lists. So when you're creating a navigation bar, which, if we put the styles back on, you'll see that these look quite different in this layout. I've gotten rid of the bullets. I've made this a horizontal instead of a vertical list. I could even add a rollover effect to change the color of this text as I roll over it, or any other aspect of the CSS design. But when you view this page without the style, you can still tell this collection of links belongs together because they're all organized in the same unordered list. Similarly, each of the 3 columns on this page, the images and the headline and text that go with them, still make sense and still appear in a logical order, even without the styles. Let's put that back because it's always so much nicer to look at these pages when they do have the styles. But I think it's helpful to see pages without styles to better understand how they work. Another big advantage to CSS is that it enables you to work more efficiently. So for example, all 3 of these headlines use the same font, color, and size. Now you could apply those styles to each headline separately, using the font face attribute, the font size attribute, and colors. But using CSS in this page layout, I've done something much more efficient. I've used the H1 or heading 1 tag to format these, and then created a style for that H1 tag with the font, color, and size that I prefer. The advantage of that is that I can simply apply the heading 1 tag to each of these headlines and in one step take care of all 3 of those formatting attributes. Even better, if I decide to change that style in the future, I want, for example, to use a different font or a different color, I can simply go back and change the style, and all 3 of those headlines will automatically change to reflect the change in the style. Those are just a couple of the reasons why CSS is so powerful and so popular for web design today, and why we'll spend so much of this series designing with CSS.